Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? There's a report from The Athletic that the Las Vegas Raiders are shopping tight end Michael Mayer to other teams around the NFL. And, you know, as I often say when there's a free agent or a player that is on the trade block, and you ask the question, like, should my team go after that player? I think you should always, like 100% of the time, have the conversation. Many times it's not going to make sense, financially, roster-wise, whatever. But as a GM, someone who is in charge of organizing the roster, you should always have the conversation because you never know until you ask. I mean, did anybody realistically, Pat Riley was going to land LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosch? Got them all? As Dan Le Batard said, everybody wanted one of them. Riley got them all. I mean, you had to ask. You had to put it together. So what kind of deal can you do? Now, Michael Mayer isn't that. But I think you should always have the question. And the Saints have a very real need at tight end. Let me rephrase. The Saints have a very real need at everything. So every player that is an upgrade over what you currently have that is affordable, you've got to look at what it would cost to get that player. So if you're asking me, should the Saints trade for Michael Mayer? If you don't draft a tight end, then absolutely. So let's piece together the options here, okay? First of all, the Saints could sign a tight end in free agency. It could. But I also think this is unlikely. Unless if you re-sign your guy, Juwan Johnson. So for whatever it's worth, PFF ranks Juwan Johnson as the number one free agent tight end in this free agent cycle. That should put some context on how weak of a free agent cycle this is at tight end. They've got Juwan Johnson, number one, followed by Mike Gesicki, Tyler Conklin, Zach Ertz, and then Austin Hooper. That's the free agent tight end crop, the top five. You could re-sign Juwan Johnson. He was your leading pass catcher this past year after the injuries to Olave and Shaheed and Taysom, Kamara. But he's certainly not a prototype tight end and hasn't been the dynamic player many of us thought he would be, especially in the red zone. So I don't know that you have a free agent option. The better option, and by the way, if you look at the roster currently where the Saints are at tight end, Juwan Johnson's a free agent. Foster Moreau is entering the final year of his contract, the free agent contract that he signed. And this could be a situation where Foster is a cap casualty. I don't know what's going to happen here with Foster, but it's just worth noting as you look at numbers, Foster has a $4.6 million cap hit. He has no dead money. So this year. So they could cut or release Foster Moreau. You'd save $4.6 million. Now, you'd be down a tight end, but you could. Like, nobody wants to see that happen. I mean, we're talking about potentially releasing Tyron, potentially releasing Foster. I mean, we'd love to see the LSU guys there. We all know Foster's story. Louisiana guy, went to New Orleans guy, went to Jesuit, LSU, number 18, all the stuff. Had been with Carr, with the Raiders. Saints signed him in free agency when they had a need at tight end. And Foster's been he's been a good player, not a great player for New Orleans. Of course, we know he went through his cancer battle. I mean, I would love to see Foster stay, but he's got a $4.6 million cap hit, no dead money. You could release him and say 4.6 like that. And when you are where the Saints are with respect to the cap, these are the types of decisions sometimes you have to make. So Juwan Johnson's a tight end. Foster Moreau is entering the final year of his deal. He could be a cap casualty. And then Taysom's hurt, and he's not really a tight end to begin with. Like, Taysom Hill's a versatile player, but he is not a prototype tight end. So you need a tight end. Not great tight end class in free agency. You don't really have great options currently on the roster. I would say drafting a tight end is likely. As a matter of fact, Ross Jackson, our guy over at LouisianaSports.net today, put out a 7-round post-combine Saints mock draft. And with the 9th overall pick, he's got and this has been a pretty common pick as well. With the 9th overall pick, he's got the Saints taking Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Which, if that were to happen, I would go head over heels. Love that. I think Tyler Warren is you never want to say can't miss. You could always miss on guys in the draft. But size, physicality, athleticism, hands, blocking ability, all of it, complete tight end, position of need, and I think will still be a relevant player in his physical prime by the time, in theory, 2, 3, 4 years down the line when you get this roster back to where you feel like you can compete. I think he could be very much a cornerstone part of that. You need everything, and if he's there at 9, you take him. I'm thrilled with that. But this is also a very deep tight end draft class. Not only do you have Warren, but you got Colston Loveland from Michigan. By the way, PFF ranking the tight ends in this draft class, just for some context, they have Tyler Warren as the 13th overall player in the draft. Colston Loveland, out of Michigan, the 31st overall player of the draft. So two guys there in the top 32. Gunnar Helm from Texas, 75th. Elijah Arroyo, 80th. And Mason Taylor, 87th as the top 5 tight ends of the draft. Taylor! So you got the first two in Warren and Loveland, who are probably first-round picks. But then you got Helm, Arroyo, and Taylor all within like 12 spots of each other in these rankings that would be like third-round picks. So point being, even if you don't get Warren in round 1 or Loveland, around round 3, there's going to be a really good tight end very likely sitting there for you to be able to draft one of the guys I just mentioned, Helm, Arroyo, or Taylor. Of course, we love to see Taylor, LSU guy, go there. We'll see what they do. But I think the best option is going to be in the draft. But if you don't draft a tight end, Michael Mayer could be great value. You know, he came out of Notre Dame and was an elite-level prospect. He was a second-round pick of the Raiders. He had a good, not great rookie season, caught 27 passes for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a good rookie season. It's just, it pales in comparison to what we just saw Brock Bowers do. And so Mayer had really a down second season, 21 catches for 156, in large part because Brock Bowers had the greatest receiving season for a rookie tight end in the history of the NFL. So naturally, playing the same position, Mayer wasn't going to get the looks. So when I look at this, because he was a second-round pick, he was a day 2 pick, you got affordable salary. His 2025 number is $1.5 million. His 2026 number is $2 million. Super affordable. The question is, what would you have to give up to get him? A former second-round pick who really hasn't performed well in the last 2 years, you could probably give a day 3 pick. I mean, you could trade a 6 or a 7 in theory. Now, the Raiders may want more than that, but they got a guy that's just sitting there on the roster they used a second-round pick on that they're getting nothing out of because they drafted Brock Bowers. Like, anything is better than nothing. Could you go offer a 6, offer a late day 3 pick, and get Michael Mayer and pay him $1.5 million in 2025, $2 million in 2026? Yeah. That feels like a really good option for a young, very talented guy. It's probably a better option all around than anyone you currently have on your roster. Would be more cost-effective than any free agents, and probably a better player than the guys in the draft, unless if you were able to get Tyler Warren 9th overall. I think this is one that the Saints got to pick up the phone and call. Now, I wouldn't do it until after the draft if he's still hanging around, but that's one that I could really see making sense for New Orleans is Michael Mayer from the Raiders, if the deal makes sense, because everything else, need, position, your position of need, salary, contract, all the stuff. If the deal makes sense and what you'd have to give up to get him, yeah, there's a lot of boxes that would check. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.